in 33rd word by Imam Nursi, which consists of windows, 33 windows, and we're halfway through the windows, past the halfway, 18th window, and we are reflecting on the ways in which we can journey from this world, this experience, this reality, to knowing and loving the Creator, inshallah. So I will turn to Dr. Yamina to start us for tonight, and then we have some people to comment on their reflections on this text, and then we'll go from there, inshallah. Bismillah, jazakumullah khair.
Thank you, Isra. أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والصلاة والسلام على سيد المرسلين وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين السلام عليكم ورحمة الله تعالى وبركاته. So, as mentioned earlier, we start at the 18th window. These are all windows onto knowledge of God, knowing God through His creation. And in this particular window, it is a reflection on Ayah 185 of Surah 7, Surah Al-A'raf, which is أَوَلَمْ يَنْظُرُوا فِي مَلَكُوتِ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ. Do they not look into the malakut of the heavens and the earth? And this window is actually a window onto the world of malakut, which is the aspect of the creation, the aspect of the world that looks to the beautiful names of God, that looks to the maker, the creator, the source of everything. And if we look at the first paragraph after the first sentence, we are told a building indicates the act of building. In English, it's because it's the same, building. A building, like a concrete thing, a building you live in, indicates the act of the action of building. And a fine, well-ordered act, that act, because it is not a random act, it's an act that ended up in such a well-ordered thing that has a purpose and wisdom, necessarily such an act points to a proficient agent. A fi'l indicates a fa'il, a skillful master, a builder. And then from the what we see, an object, an event, something in the world, there is an act. Behind the act, there is an agent. Behind the agent, there is a name, then an attribute, a quality, and then the essence. And we may not get to the essence, but if we can go from the thing to the action, to the agent, to the name and the attribute and quality, that would be great, inshallah. That would be quite a journey into the world of the malakut. And last week, I guess some people were going to share. It would be great if you share. And you don't have to discuss the whole window. You could always choose one passage that attracted your attention that you could reflect on and share with us, inshallah. So we're ready to listen to whoever is sharing, inshallah. And thank you.
Assalamu alaikum. Because I did volunteer for this, I can kind of just share a little bit of my experience with it. So last week after I volunteered for it and then I went back and read it, I was like, uh-oh, I think I volunteered for something that's way over my head at this point. It felt like kind of like a wall or a block to me. and I don't know if it's just the translation. I mean, English is my main language. So the way some of the words were put together, I didn't, necessarily understand everything. But then I tried to kind of just step back and calm down a little bit, and maybe just kind of look at, questions that I had. One thing that just struck me off the top is like, what exactly is meant by government? And then I know someone shared the current form that's up, which includes the Arabic. And even though I'm not a native Arabic speaker, for some reason the word malakut just resonated a little more. Not that I understand, exactly what that means, but I guess I'm just curious what the government means. I'm assuming it means like the governing order. So that is kind of one of the questions that I had, and I also did appreciate reading people's reflection on the Receiving Nur Reflections WhatsApp group, because I felt like that helped kind of like was it peel away the layers a little bit for me. So yeah, this is something I definitely need to sit with a lot more.
Thank you, Zahra. This is a dense window, and I was wondering, Natila, the chart that you shared on the WhatsApp group, do you have it handy to share it on the screen?
Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Let's maybe think on that. I mean, I can share, I guess, but I feel like it's still a work in progress.
Yeah, and Dr.
So
Yamina can comment. That's why I said, we're reflecting together. So that's, your kind of.
So I guess, I'm joining the others where I went back, and I was looking at the words in Arabic here. But I also wanted to see it in Turkish, even though I don't necessarily understand, but I just wanted to see, because I feel like the old word, I mean, the words that are used in the Turkish, they have like a little bit more of they keep some of the Arabic, I feel like there is some in the word. So I did that as well. I'm not sure that I got a bit more, but I felt like that helps maybe. So yes, I will share. I'm a co-host, so maybe I can share the point here. Okay. Where are we? Share screen. You can see it now, right?
Yes. Yes.
Maybe a few things. I think Sister Ali also had something she wanted to say. So yeah, I mean, I read the beginning of this window, and it seems like, I mean, there is this the reasoning, the logical reasoning in the beginning seems like it's echoing in the end as well. So there also we're talking about steps towards the end of the window, and in the beginning seems like, it's talking about the building, right? So things we see. And I feel like, towards the end, that reasoning becomes, more. Anyway, so I kind of, was trying to follow, follow the logic and the layers, so the pointing. So this is what it doesn't mean that they're separated. So I don't want to give any wrong idea. So this is just me. I mean, I was trying to understand how we are going from one layer to the other. So it doesn't mean that they're separated from each other. So I don't know if that makes sense, but because people will see, I don't know, I'm afraid that people might see separated, and we're not talking about splitting them apart. So I don't know, Dr. Yamina, if I'm also okay.
Yeah, thank you so much.
So this is, yeah, it's just, me trying to reflect on when you going from that level to another, and the thing that I was contemplating, because trying to pick an object or pick something, that maybe we're interacting. I was trying to reflect on the book, right? When we see a well-written book, or let's see, like the book that we are currently reading, Risale Nur, or Ihya Ulumuddin of Imam Ghazali. So we're looking at this book, and then there's order, and there is arrangement and all of that. So the book is pointing. So me, I'm trying, you know, to take now the metaphor, right? Again, so point, it's the act of writing the book and the reading as well. But okay, let's talk about the writing. And then you have the writer, the agent, I guess, just jumping in there. And then I'm not sure, you know, so I'm gonna, this is just, you know, thoughts, I get thought in process. So even there, that interaction that happens when between that faculty of thinking, right? So from the writer point of view, right? So the writer needs now to convert those ideas and the thoughts that seems like they're coming from the unseen, if you know, but and then he's, so there is some transfer and some, you know, exchange there happening as well, right? So from the faculty of thinking, now putting the words in the book, right? So, but then we, from the book, we are also, we know that the person has knowledge and has intellect. And so that kind of, that's where I was going with this. And I don't know, some rumbling, I guess, so.
That's really helpful, Natila. Jazakallah khair. I think really helpful to hear. And actually, if you could let it stay, I wanted to add something and then ask Yamina to kindly enlighten us more on this. So the way I agree with you that my initial confusion with this is that when I see something at the very, but you know, in here, where the very smallest circle, a fine, well-ordered, well-crafted work, this is where we start. This is what we see. And then if from this process we end up inferring the divine qualities and divine essence, God's being, then in that process would be a sign. That's as a side point I wanted to note. But so when I start with a fine, well-crafted, well-ordered work, when I see something, let's say a flower or an ear or a blood vessel, whatever. So then what I think is, okay, this is well ordered. There must be a well orderer. And I used to think that I jumped, like I moved from the created thing to God, to the creator. But here, so it makes steps. You see an action, actions result. You see an artwork or artifact, and then from there's a way, there has to be an action that made this happen, the act. And if there's an act, there must be an acting behind it, and then it goes into that acting, and that agent has to have an attribute because it's coming from that attribute, and that indicates a capacity, and then that indicates the person, the kind of the essence. So I would like, you know, Dr. Yamina, if she can explain why are these layers essential? Why can't we just jump from this is well ordered? There must be an orderer, and that's the creator. Like that, I think that could be a bit unpacked. And finally, I wanted to share that I was thinking, why is it so important to have this clarified? Then it occurred to me that, again, Dr. Yamina is going to say, don't keep bringing science in, but like in science or in the way in which people pretend to explain things naturally, this step is always skipped. There are things that are organized, but you don't need to think, well, if there's something organized, then there should be an active organization, and behind it there should be agent of organization, and that points to, you know, that knowledge and wisdom and so on. That is not there. It's just things are organized, and they're organized. They can even talk about random organizations, you know, evolutionary organization. It's just things are organized somehow, you know. So this important link across these connections are oftentimes presented as broken to us. And again, Dr. Yamina would say this isn't just in materialistic science, it's also in our mode of thinking, in the mode of in a state of ghafla. Even like gratitude, like people talk about gratitude, and yet there is no, increasingly as if you don't need to direct it to somewhere. I'm grateful for this, but who are you grateful to? Well, we don't need to talk about that. I'm just grateful. Grateful to what? Okay, so I will stop here, and I see more people came in. Is there anyone else who wanted to share reflections on today's text? 18th window.
Assalamu alaikum, everybody.
Yeah.
Saira here. Sorry, I joined in a little bit later, but I'm just trying to figure out how to share my screen if it is okay. May I?
Okay, yes, I will give you
Thank you, Sister Isra. Assalamu alaikum, everybody.
Alaikum
Uh,
salam.
Let me see. Assalamu alaikum, Dr. Yamina. I tried to think about at length about Malakut as the assignment was for me according to the 18th window. Alhamdulillah, with a little bit of Quran recitation and translation reading also, I came to realize that what Malakut really is, as I'm hoping I'll be able to share. So let me see if I can share my screen real quick and show you guys what I thought might make sense, but this is a very rudimentary PowerPoint that I was trying to create. Dr. Yamina, I look at it from this point of view that Malakut is in the center, and I was trying to write the book of life, or the book that is with Allah Ta'ala, in which all the terms of our existence are written, and it's mahfuz with Allah Ta'ala up in the skies and in heavens. And I look at heavens and universe here, and I'm looking at the humans in the lower bottom, and earth and plants and trees sustaining all life, and then animals here. But why I listed kitab here is because I'm looking at our temporal existence in the universe as Allah Ta'ala planned, and then also that malakut, or as we say in my native language in Urdu, malkiyat, or everything that is owned by someone, and there is only one khalik and one owner, that happens to be Allah Ta'ala. So from a cosmic or Sufi or spiritually sort of like hierarchical level, I think that Malakut means everything that Allah Ta'ala appointed, with its terms, with its functions, and with its nature. Like we read in the window about the order of the creation and the perfection in that order, it's hierarchical. Also, that Malaika are important as servants of Allah Ta'ala, because they are, as Quran says time and again, very obedient. And even when they did have a talk or a dialogue with Allah Ta'ala when Adam was created, Hazrat Adam alayhi salam, that why are you creating him, Allah? And aren't we enough or sufficient to praise for you or to do ibadah for you? And Allah Ta'ala said to them, depending upon what only He knows, that you don't know what I know. Alhamdulillah. And so now that and they also predicted, they said that this creation that you are creating will cause a lot of fitna on earth. Why are you creating them? And Allah Ta'ala said that you don't know why I'm creating. You don't know what I know. And then little by little in Quranic ayat, we realize that why Allah Ta'ala said that I'm going to expect you to be either a good believer, or as Satan took time from me until the end of the earth and Yom Qiyamah comes, that humanity will have a lot of its individuals who will be strayed as I will. So I think in Malakut, we all fall, the good and the bad, the believer and the non-believer, speaking from a human perspective. And the inhumanity plus merciful humanity, there is both, there is good and bad, there is opposites are always there. That's why then in the malakut of Allah Ta'ala, there is day and night, there is the solar system, there is the rotation of the moon and the sun, there is plants, and so many examples of when Allah Ta'ala gives us rain, which we read about in earlier windows, and sustenance, and why they become decayed, and then with new cycle of water, new life comes out. Same parallel Allah Ta'ala tells us time and again in His malakut, in His malkiyat, in His ownership and domain of perfection. There is life after death, and then there is death. I beget death, and then I give death, and I also get life or bring life. Um, Another point that makes sense to me is that when something is unknown to us, for us humans who are trying to ponder on Quran and understand the importance of a tafsir, as important and as detailed and as intricate and as reverent and as humbly written as this one that you are teaching us from, Imam Said Noor's interpretation and reflection on why Allah Ta'ala's um uh, the status as our only God is so important to understand, because there is the concept of Tawheed. So I put the center as Malakut, and the owner, I should say, of course, is Allah Ta'ala. Uh, and, and it says that one God or Allah, and then he owns everything. So all of the ownership is belonging to him. And then there is this code that we are trying to, whether we talk about the main book that is with Allah Ta'ala, the book of life, or we talk about our book, Quran, we are realizing that the code language is there, because with Allah Ta'ala everything is already known, but for us He was merciful and He guided us through Quranic ayats. In that sense, I understand that Allah Ta'ala is generous and is giving. And so for me to further decode that message is important, and as such, we are engaging in this discussion. I hope I'm making sense.
Thank you, Sarah. Now the whole, we started this window, and our intention and aim is to get to not only know what Malakut is,
Yeah.
but actually become familiar with Malakut. So we are not trying to define Malakut. If you look at the text, it does not talk about Malakut. It just, the ayah at the beginning refers to Malakut. And I am the one who said, actually, in this window, we are taught how to become in touch with Malakut. Zahra mentioned the translation, which is the Quran translation. Usually the word Malakut is translated as either government or dominion. Either, whether you say dominion or government or Malakut, we don't really know what it is until we do the work. And that's what we want to do. It is different than Malikiya. It is different than Mulk. They are
Oh,
all
I see.
words. Yeah. So now, let me do this. This is a reasoning, and we need to get familiar with this way of reasoning. Isra pointed to something important. She said, usually we see order, we say orderer, and it's true. And we say the orderer is God, and finished. And that's why this is attracting our attention, because we're saying, why do we have to go all through these steps? It is a process of conscious anchoring. When we testify and witness and observe and see the order, and we feel that there must be an orderer and this orderer is God, it is totally correct. However, it lacks anchoring, and that's why it does not, because it's not anchored in our heart, in our soul, in our way of being, in our way of perceiving, very quickly we forget, and then on in our daily life, we again, either we don't see the order or we take it for granted, and seldom we remember the orderer. We remember God as the orderer, as the giver, as all the qualities and names of God, until something happens, and then we remember again. So we want to go from that state of mostly in ghafla, from time to time remembering, to a state of more systematic remembering. The Quran has not been sent in vain without wisdom and purpose. The Prophet as a teacher has not been sent without reason. People before the Prophet Muhammad والسلام, they knew God. They probably also said there is order, there must be an order. They did not deny God. They had also other prophets and they had received the message. So why again this message? Why this emphasis on God alone? And we will see that this is something to do with God alone and not letting other causes, other things to creep in and into our perception as if they are also participating in the creation. So this is a way of weeding out all the possible elements of shirk. So everything is given to only one agent. And to that agent is to be known through his creation, which means the creation will start fulfilling the purpose of its being created, of its being in existence. Otherwise, because most of the time we take things for granted when we are in ghafla. So I had said that the reasoning was important, and we could start with fi'l, fa'il, act, like an object, an act, an agent, a name, attribute. We can stay there. And I had, and of course, at the end, there must be a being to whom these attributes belong, a being that is who is described through this the attributes that this object is indicating. And this way we will learn to read this is primarily 101 reading the ayat in the creation. And when we start reading, it's like someone who is illiterate suddenly starts reading, oh, everywhere there are lots of things, sign, everything is written, and the whole word changes. Not only that, there are people who don't even know that there is something called language, that you can use signs to mean something. So we'll start, I had said, you can just take any object and instead of starting directly in the creation, start with something very simple. This is a ball. Okay, this is a ball. So when I look at this ball, what does it tell me? This is a ball, it's a thing. There must have been an action of making. It is the result of an action, right? And this action points to an agent. What can we say about the agent by looking at this ball? I'm asking the question, so you can please, what can we say?
So he was, he had knowledge of how to do the thing. So he has some mastery, right? The master of the craft or pottery, or in that case, right?
And I look, and it's really, this is hand painted, and look at how well it is made. So
I've seen my girls trying to do something. They're not professional, so you can see their balls. Definitely, they're not master.
exactly. So the more we look at it, the more we understand that this person, this agent, has knowledge of pottery, has some mastery of pottery. And the more you know about pottery, the more you can say how skillful he is, right? Or she is, the person, the agent, right? We also know that this person is, this agent, he is making a ball. It means this is meant for human use. So this agent definitely is someone in the beginning, let's say we don't know only human beings make this, knows human beings and knows that they what they use in their kitchen and in order to eat. And in making this, he has something specific in mind. For instance, there are things that you can hold in a plate. If I want to pour soup in this plate, it won't hold it. So he made a bowl that is deeper, right? So he has, he's skillful in pottery and he's keeping in mind the uses, how we use our plates and what we eat. So he definitely knows about different kinds of food we have. Some will fit into a plate, but others we will need a bowl for them. So we have now an idea about what he knows. And his intention is making them different. We look at, they could have been just white, but they are decorated. So he has a sense of art and a sense of beauty and a sense of, he wants the person who uses this bowl to appreciate the bowl. Is someone who knows about nature because there are flowers and leaves and full-bloomed flowers and buds. So someone who knows about flowers and nature and knows that people care and people appreciate such beauty, such shapes and colors. And he made them into a set. We like harmony. So can you see just by looking at this, how much we can deduce about the agent? There is an object, there is an act. We can even imagine the act of making the whole thing, right? And then there is the agent, and we can tell lots of things about the agent just by looking at his artifact. Does it make sense? So now I can say this potter, he may not be only a potter, but from my perspective now, from the perspective of what this object is pointing to, he is a skillful potter. He is an artist. He is a craftsman. This agent is a skillful potter, an artist, a craftsman who, and we can also deduce that he wants to make something pretty, what he knows, what he could have chosen something else. At least he knows that the people who are going to buy his art care about this kind of beauty and art. We can use the same reasoning for something else. These are coasters. So these coasters, what do they tell us? This is a objects. There must be an act, right? Someone took some wood, made a box, made all these half a dozen of identical coasters. They are all made of wood here, but there is something in to make them pretty. The wood is, can you see? It's also decorated. What can we say about, there is an action, action doesn't mean one action. There is action, activity. Look at all the actions. This wood has been cut into pieces, put together. The wood has been sculpted and decorated. And then all they've been made, the box has been made with this in to fit the 6 together, right? They fit right together and you can't fit a 7th one. So the box is exactly to fit the 6 coasters. What can we say about the agent? So there is definitely actions here, and these acts indicate an agent. What can we say about the agents looking at this?
That there is a definite design and there are some functions attached to that design.
Mm-hmm.
He's a carpenter, maybe, you know, working with wood.
Or someone who is skillful with wood.
Skillful, and I mean, there's a knowledge, so that they're a purpose, so they're not just made, so there's a purpose, you know, to them. And, you know, they're also talking about the wheel, like he wanted to make them, nobody kind of, you know, so there's the wheel in there.
He used his will to make this for what purpose?
To hold the cup and
the cup. Yeah, so the cup does not damage.
They go together, yeah, they go together.
A table or glass or something, and it can hold heat, right? So it is big enough to hold a cup or a glass. And it has, can you see that if each one of the coasters is also decorated, the wood is all decorated, someone who is skillful with wood. And do you recognize the picture in the coaster?
The Indian Taj Mahal, right?
Taj Mahal. So most probably this this is done by someone who lives there and who knows that this has some marketing value. Why? Because people come to visit it. Everyone who goes to visit India, lots of people will go and visit this place. So he chose to put it here. So it's easier to sell. So he has a sense of, he knows the importance of this building in the perception of the people who visit, and he's appealing to them, and he wants, most probably he wants to sell, and he made it pretty, and he is someone who, the work is very well done. I don't know if you can see, but it's very good workmanship. So we can say he is very skillful. He's a skillful, he's a master, he's using all traditional, how do you say?
Tools for design?
No, the designs here, they are all traditional because it's new. I mean, it has a picture and things. It's not something ancient, but it has traditional decorations. So he also wants, he knows that people appreciate if they are coming as, for instance, tourists, they don't want to buy something that looks exactly like what they have at home. So something different, something that looks more traditional, more local. We can tell a lot about the maker, the craftsman of this thing. Does it make sense? We can deduce a lot of his attributes and qualities. not all about his life, but pertaining to this work. Right?
Yes.
I was thinking I have here Subha. I don't know where it was made. Lots of them are made in China, except that this is wood. It's a particular kind of wood. So I don't know if it's from China as well. The plastic ones are from China. But wherever it is made for Muslims. Why? Because you count and it has 33 and then a separating bead and then 33 and then 33. 3 times 33 for the tasbihat after the prayers. 33 Allahu Akbar, Subhanallah, Allahu Akbar, Alhamdulillah, Wallahu Akbar. So this, whoever made it has some craftsmanship, and the purpose is for Muslims. So even if he's not Muslim, he knows one thing about Muslims. He knows how many beads, how many times they count.
Dr. Yamina.
Yes.
Yeah. So I think this is very helpful because it highlights that we can start with the object or the artifact and then get to know the one behind it. Um, what I feel most needs to understand is this part from name to attribute to capacity. So it's helpful to think, for instance, with the bowl or the other objects you noted, there's an action of pottery, and there must be an agent of that pottery, and then it's the name of the potter, the skill of pottery, and then that attribute, and then the capacity. So in Arabic, ism and sifa, and then sha'n or isti'dad for the metaphor.
Isra, can you put the screen on?
On?
The main screen where you are showing the text. It's not, it's a, I think, is it showing for everyone or is for me? I don't know.
The text is there under Isra's notes.
Okay, yeah. I think, sister, you are on the main window. Yeah, it's fine. It was my problem and not Isra's. I think, I touched the window. Yeah, continue, Isra.
So you see, so this from ism, name, to sifa, to capacity or sha'n, ism, sifa, sha'n, that connection may be unpacked more. And I was looking at, as a side note, I was looking at a tafsir attributed to Ibn al-Arabi for something else today, and I came across again, he talks about name, sifa, and I think sha'n too, and that, the person. And so these have distinct meanings. So if we could kind of unpack that a bit more, that would be helpful. So like from this, the action of pottery, there must be an agent of this act, and then that agent clearly has, the skill of pottery or carving things, painting things, inscribing things, whatever is implied in the action. And then that points to attributes of, and then capacity of, like, there, if we can unpack a bit more. Jazakallah khair.
Isra, I can share if you want right now.
You want to share? Okay, one sec.
Go ahead, Sibansha.
Isra, if you can just pull up the photo, yeah, the main, the first one, first photo.
This one?
Yeah, this one.
How do we make the other one? Like this, maybe?
Yeah, I think, yeah, it should not, it might not take you there because it's, yeah.
Oh, no.
No, it's fine. It's fine. Once people have seen it, I just wanted to, because most people have seen it on the WhatsApp group. So well, I can start.
Okay.
So
it's
yeah.
also on the main, the picture is also on the main document that you have, Isra. If you go down, it's there. The picture is there.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah, if you go down, like it was added, the comments were added to the main document.
I can't see it though.
Yeah.
Oh, Natila has it. Wonderful.
Yeah.
Okay. Bismillah. So I was reflecting on this 18th window and what it said. It started with a fine, well-ordered, well-crafted work like a palace. Self-evidently points to a well-ordered act. That is to say, a building indicates the act of building, and a fine, well-ordered act necessarily points to a proficient agent, a skillful master, a builder. Palace is a work of art, and each brick in it itself is a palace. And this is, I think I got from Ustad Nursi's another, somewhere I heard about it. He said that each castle has a brick, has a stone, and each stone is a castle. So that's what where I took it from. And so if I look, I'm filled with amazement and awe of this architect. I am in awe of this palace, the human body. But as I reflect, it takes me to another layer of amazement. From my fingers being able to coordinate so perfectly to type these words, to my body being able to sit straight with the supporting skeleton. Each and every organ is a building in itself. My nose, my ear, my eyes. As I zoom into the structure of bone and my tissue, I feel like a child who is lost in a maze. And then the magic begins to unfold. The perfect mastery of my creator is revealed. That is why he takes pride in creating me with his own hands. How can he not be proud of his artwork? Me, which is full of wisdom beyond my complete comprehension. All the intricacies are beyond what my mind can grasp. I was blown away by the picture of the cell that is circulating on the internet that we are seeing right now. Most detailed photo of a cell taken using obtained X-ray, NMR, and cryo-electron microscopy. These are the techniques which are used to go deep and take this colorful picture. It looks like a skyline of a Chicago downtown city with beautiful lit high-rise buildings and parks and streets. If you look into it, you can see either see city like skyline of a city, metro city, or we were looking at it together, Sister Ali and us, and it looked like it has treasures and jewels and like subhanallah. What an incredible architect of this microscopic architecture. I already feel overwhelmed. If we look in and zoom into the depth of the cell and the molecular biology, it's an unending universe within a cell, glorifying the most perfect and most glorious maker. And I came across one of these photos. Underlined, there was a quote by Maulana Rumi, Rahimullah. You are not a drop in the ocean. You are the entire ocean in a drop. So everything is so perfectly planned by the most knowing and most magnificent architect. And when I realize that, I feel, how can I not depend on him? How can I not trust him and not fall back, knowing that he is there to hold me and to support me? That was my reflection.
Jazakallah khair, Ziba. Thank you for sharing. Alhamdulillah.
And I was reflecting even on the scientist being stuck in the cell itself and thinking it creation of its own. And subhanallah, after we discussed this, and I was praying Zohar prayer, and subhanallah, the meaning of Surah Al-Kafirun was so different with this in mind. When I was reciting it, Qul ya ayyuhal kafirun, like if you are stuck in the cell, then it's you, you are stuck there. No one can take you out of. Like Allah has given us so much depth into the cell, and you come out the telescope to go into the universe. There's like He is bringing things so evidently to our eyes. And even if after that, if we can't go back to the source who is the creator, then what you are busy in, keep yourself busy. I have nothing to do with that. And my maker, my Rabb, if he's opening these to me, I feel so overwhelmed and thankful that that's my Rabb, and then that surah made so much of sense, and so much of meaning and presence I could feel while reciting it in my salah. Subhanallah, like it was another taste of that surah which I got to taste. Subhanallah.
Alhamdulillah. 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 So back to what Isra was saying or asking. Here in this example, we have the palace or a building. The palace here is like not a random building. It's a nice, well-ordered, beautiful building. If we stop and look at it carefully, we realize that there is an act. It is pointing, it means that there must have been an act before so that this building comes into being. And if there is an act, there must be an agent, the one who is acting. And this agent, when we look at the building in a way is speaking and describing the agent and making some of his attributes known to us. So at least we look at this beautiful building, orderly, well-made building. We say this agent is a proficient master and builder. I'm using the words used in the text. Proficient, master, and builder. And this means, this points to or indicate an attribute. And this attribute is a faculty for craft. This is an attribute, he's a builder, and this means he has the faculty, a faculty for building orderly, beautifully. Because as Isra was mentioning in the beginning, like in science, we can see not only things, but even things in the process of being made, and everything is just either not ascribed to anything or it's attributed to, that's it, it happens. But here, not only there is an agent, but this agent has a faculty for this particular craft. Otherwise, we can't say he's a builder. It's not any agent. He has to have this faculty for craft. And this faculty for craft indicates an existence of innate ability. This is important, innate ability. It's in the, this is how that person is. It is their ability. If we're talking about building and people, I mean, a bird is inspired to make a nest, and he has the ability for that, but cannot build a stone building, for instance. A cat can never write or speak, because the inner ability, innate ability is there. So even if we go through this reasoning and at the end someone presents us with a cat as the builder, we say no, because we know a cat cannot have the innate ability for this.
But maybe does that innate ability also indicate that this thing is able to do it because they have that, like it's their ability, as opposed to like when I put on, let's say, a scarf, it's not innate to me, so it can be taken off. But well, I don't mean in the sense that you can't lose it, but not, I mean in the sense that if this is the agent, then the ability indicated in that agency has to be that person's agency.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Like, let's say, I mean, an example that comes to me is, let's say, for some reason, smashing a building. Now, if I tell you you come and the building is smashed, and I tell you I smashed this building, you will say, well, Isra, you don't have the innate ability to smash a building. But maybe I used a vehicle, then okay, you say, well, then it's the vehicle, it's not, you had, maybe you directed the vehicle, but it's not your ability. So if when I look at the smashed building, I see ability of,
in the sense that you don't have the innate power, and you can have the will to.
Yes, yes. So like, if this palace, the palace indicates an act of building. We don't know who that person yet, but there's an act. This act cannot be without an agent. And I think this is where the whole thing gets obscured in the, I guess it can be obscured in both levels, because I do see in some of the cartoons even that things fall down, the Legos, and they become a perfect building. And then they repeat this a few times. I was like, when Isa was young, I was like, I don't want him to get into this illogical notion that things can fall into and can become building over and over again like this. Maybe it wasn't intentional on the part of the cartoon, but so sometimes they want to break this link, that if something is well made, then it doesn't need an intentional act. In reality, logically, there is a connection here. It has to be. And then the other connection is there must be an agent here. And then that points to a name.
Not a random agent. This agent has to be a proficient builder, a master in building. And he has to have...
It indicates building, because it indicates, the palace indicates a kind of exquisite act of building, clearly. So we need that. It's not any builder, as you're saying. Sorry, I interrupted. But
go ahead.
Yeah, so that's when we are inferring proficient builder, because when I first read it, I thought, like, when I first read it at the time, I thought, does this mean the builder, we know that the builder is a man, or is long, tall, or has a beard? No, we're not inferring that kind of things. He could be anything, but what we can infer is that this act of building cannot be without an agent, a purposeful agent that is behind the act of building. The acts don't just emerge like that. They have to have...
the more exquisite the object, the building, the more the masterful, skillful the builder is, the more the inner ability is, he says here, a perfect innate ability. Because if the person makes something wishy-washy, not so good, we are not sure how able a person, how much this ability is. We may all have, if we're talking about people, everyone may have potentially that ability, but if someone exhibits something so skillful, then what does it show? It shows the perfection of the innate ability. That such a perfect ability. When we are talking about people, it also points to the creator who creates us with this wonderful abilities. But when it's used for the creator, then perfect becomes really perfect. Like the example that Ziba shared.
If I can just say here, so the innate ability is like, sometimes we use the word talented, like we talk about people being talented on something. For example, like among my children, maybe I have some who are more artsy, right? Let's talk about the arts, so we're more into the painting and the color. They know how to, you know, so even that ability, they need even if you have a talent for something, you still need to do you need to go through the faculty of like making that ability, like crafting that ability, right? So you need to
to
develop, right? For a human being, right? Yeah, for a human
Yeah.
being, I'm talking. So you need to make it more proficient. So there is that ability.
But here, true. However, here, since we saw the fruit of whether that person was born with the gift totally like perfect or worked, honed that gift themselves, when we see the wonderful art at the end, we understand that the ability, there is an innate ability, and we understand how perfect this innate ability is, right? Because we are going backward now.
Right.
Yeah. And maybe we can just remove innate, because when you say ability, it isn't something you borrow for a day. Like if I'm able to paint.
No, but innate is different because why? I feel it's important because sometimes people think that, you know, things are acquired. Even the fitra is more and more, especially like in sociology and things, even the fitra is disappearing. Why? Because everything you learned and you acquired, like Qarun who said, I learned it. Like, how can you learn it if you did not have the innate ability? If you bring a cat into your home for 20 years, it does not start cooking and speaking, and because it does not have the ability, that kind of innate ability. And you have a cat in the house, has been born in the house, it sees a mouse and it runs and it knows exactly what to do. You never taught them. It's in its innate ability.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good point in terms of understanding human beings and the fitra. Just that here, in terms of building the logic,
that's why
here is the
idea. I am learning it myself. So if it's not an innate ability, I don't owe it to anywhere. How could you learn it? Learning is also an innate ability.
Yeah, so that's why we can just say ability, because in Arabic, in origin is isti'dad, kamil. So perfect ability, it means the ability. It can't be something that the person, whoever made this palace, could not have just worn this, you know,
it's like capacity.
You know, like he had to have it as an ability to be able to manifest this kind of attribute.
And this ability indicates the existence of an exalted spirit, elevated essence. So there is behind it spirit and essence.
That essence is a bit tricky in English because
like, it has so many meanings, right?
Yeah, like you can have the essence of a subject matter. You can have an essential oil, which means the essence of that oil. It doesn't mean the oil has a persona. Whereas that is like more like a person, like
personhood.
Personhood,
like these attributes and this ability are not like just an ability, just random attributes. No, they all point to one being, let's say.
So in this case, is Imam Nursi's use of perfect to describe the palace and the building, like, so what I'm hearing is that's very intentional, because we're not talking about like a mediocre palace. The idea is that it is done to such perfection and skill that it, like, we can't deny it. It just captures our attention. Because I guess my brain kind of goes thinking that something crafted by a human might not always be perfect and well ordered. A building might not be, a palace might not be.
Of course, it's going to always be relatively in the world.
Mm-hmm.
And that is the key too, because if we don't have a notion of
And
gradation,
here it's actually, is it? Yeah, مكمل. Okay.
like if we don't have that experience of failing or getting better as doing it more, getting to know something. I'm surprised, for instance, whenever I teach a class, the first time I teach it, I say, okay, I prepared well. This is my first time, but I don't see why this is my worst time, because I'm teaching the first time. And then after a few times of teaching, I'm like, whoa, I'm surprised why I couldn't see this in the first time I was teaching. But then as you interact with the students, you realize, well, this is working, this is not working. So this experience of lack, experience of imperfection is what enables us to relate to a well done act or perfection. So that isn't at all against this line of reasoning. It's just that what we see in the world, like Ziba shared the cell or other things, they are so well done. So if you don't want to say perfect, you can say exquisite, but it's really, really so amazingly done. And we're starting, anytime we reflect, we're starting with those kind of objects, and then that's why we end up with an all-knowing, all-powerful being. But in the cells, there are cells that get sick, there are cells that lack something, there are cells that burst. They're minority always, but because there are 6 cells, and a cell that lacks X, a cell that lacks something else, or a cell whose membrane is stuck and is not properly functioning.
But even the stuck one, we know about it because we have the other one.
That's what I'm saying. If we didn't have those situations where things weren't incomplete or imperfect, you wouldn't have a sense of perfection. I want to give an example. Many years ago, when I was in medical school, we were talking about, the professor was talking about the formation of, I think, urea. I think urinary tract was the topic. It's a long time ago, but he said, and don't take me on this literally, because I really don't remember the details at all. I'm just sharing my, he said there are 10 steps, or there are doctors here who can correct me, 10 steps or some steps in the formation of this uric acid, and then it's excreted from the body. And we need to form it so that we can get rid of it in a safe way. So there's a wisdom behind that and all that. And he said, one of the steps is unnecessary, because we have seen that if that step is missing, it still happens. I was like, whoa, that's arrogant. That struck me as arrogant. But also I thought, oh, so if things went okay, as far as you can tell, when one step was removed, your immediate reaction is this step was unnecessary, because when it's removed, it still forms the result that the body needs. So I said, so alhamdulillah, that in all those cases where you remove a step and this result messes up, then we come back and we say, whoa, that step was really necessary, that this and so many reactions are happening in the body, so many things are happening, and they all have delicate steps, and if one of them gets messed up or is lacking, in a sickness, then the result gets messed up. So how do I know that all these 15 steps are intentional and purposeful? It's because of sicknesses. All the examples of sicknesses in which one thing is lacking, and you're like, whoa, you know, the blood has to have this in it, and you know, the liver has to have this and this, you know, so many things in human body. So if this, what I'm trying to say is that if these lacks and sicknesses did not ever happen, if you could lose things and still everything worked perfectly, the results were the same, then we would think, we wouldn't be able to appreciate perfection. We wouldn't call it perfect. We would call it superfluous. It just works.
Maybe we wouldn't have a sense of perfection. We are created with a sense of perfection. It means it's also indicates something. Why do we feel that something is lacking? It means we already have a sense of completeness. And why do we have a sense of completeness? In order to understand, although we live in a world of transience, a world where nothing is totally infinitely perfect, yet they all have relative perfection, especially the creation, the end. Through their different degrees of perfection, they point to infinite possibilities of higher and higher and more and more. So when we are saying more and more, it means automatically there is lack and less as well. But when we stop looking for things just in themselves, but what they point to, then degrees of perfection, lack of perfection, more perfection, that also is an area, and that also points to something. It opens for us the possibility of infinity, whereas when we are finite and living in a finite world, yet everything, the way it is made, points to infinity, and this is the way we are made to understand that there is infinity. Even if we can't grasp it, we know that things are pointing to infinity. This was, the building was an example, and right after he says, in just the same way, the constantly renewed works filling the face of the earth, indeed filling the universe, show not only the face of the earth, but wherever you look, show clearly acts of the utmost perfection. And these acts, which are encompassed, especially in the world, because everything, it says, the constantly renewed works, because there is this change, this activity all the time. So it is even easier. It shows clearly acts of the utmost perfection. It's happening all over, very swiftly, very smoothly, very easily. So, and these acts, which are encompassed by total order and wisdom, and these have been the subject of previous windows, how everything is interconnected, how everything works towards harmony and order and wisdom, they point clearly to an agent whose titles and names are perfect. For it is clearly obvious that well-ordered, wise acts cannot be without the one performing, cannot be without an agent. And titles of the utmost perfection point to the utterly perfect attributes of that agent. So he is the maker, that this. It means there are attributes of this agent. And here he says, according to the rules of grammar, the active participle, ism fa'il, is formed from the infinitive. That is what is called the root masdar in Arabic grammar. So too, if there is a fi'l, there is a fa'il. If there is a doing, an act, there is an actor, a maker. So too, the source and roots of noun, names and titles are attributes, and attributes at the utmost degree of perfection point indubitably to utterly perfect essential qualities. So if there is work, everything is done with exhibits order and wisdom, then there must be a wise maker and there must be wisdom. It points to perfect wisdom. Where was that? And those perfect essential qualities, which we are unable to describe, point most certainly to an essence which is at the utmost peak of perfection. So if there is wisdom, there is a source of wisdom, the one who is wise and owns wisdom and is the source of all wisdom. Thus, since in every part of the world, all the works of arts and creatures are perfect works, each of them testifies, make shahada, to an act, and the act testifies to a name, and the name to an attribute, and the attribute to a quality. In the beginning, name and attribute may not be, it's like he is the builder, and so builder, master is an attribute. And the attribute to a quality, and the quality to the essence. If there is wisdom, if there is creation with wisdom, he is the wise maker. There is a wise one. There is wisdom. There is a source, an owner of wisdom. Just as singly, they testify to the necessary existence of the all-glorious maker, to the numbers of creatures, and indicate his oneness. So all together, each one testify to his necessary existence, because we go from the act to the agent to the name, attribute, quality, to the source, the being, the personhood, the owner of those qualities. So because they all point to the same one, they all testify to not only that he's one, but necessary existence. Without him, there would be nothing. And they indicate his oneness. Together, all together, they form an ascension, a mi'raj, in divine knowledge. So when we look at them all together, because each one points to his attributes and qualities from a different perspective, and also at a different level, even if two points to wisdom, but from different perspective, different aspect, different. So all together, they point to all the names from different aspects, different levels, different. So they all together form a mi'raj, an ascension in divine knowledge, as strong as the chains of beings. They form a proof of reality in continuous sequence, which no doubt can pierce or penetrate. Like if we have this kind of relationship with all creatures around us, doubt will have no way to get in. Not only that, shirky elements can't creep in, because shirk is when we don't see the agent as the agent is not God, but because we are not doing it consciously, unconsciously, we think we are not attributing, we're not seeing an agent, we're just seeing a thing. But because we are created fitratan, we always see a thing, an act, an agent. This is how we are created. We reason this way, whether we are aware of it or not. When we are in ghafla, when we are not aware of it, then without realizing, we give agency to things themselves. And we don't go to that, we don't go to the divine essence or something. We stay in the thing itself, and we give the name and the attribute to the thing itself, to ourselves, and to the things around us. That's when we are in ghafla. That's what's called shirk. And then we feel alienated from, when we're talking about God, we don't feel close to him, because we perceive ourselves as disconnected, because we are the one who did not consciously, we're not conscious of our connection. So we live in the illusion that we are somehow disconnected. There is a lack of connection. And so when we talk, when we feel the need for help from God, it does not feel close to our heart. It does not move our heart. It does not fill our heart with love and reverence and awe, because we don't really know who he is. Why? Because we think we are not doing anything, but actually, unconsciously, we are assuming the agents to be the things themselves, and ourselves, of course, when we are involved in something. Does it make sense? Why this reasoning is important? This reasoning is what takes us from things to the maker of the things, from mulk to the malakut side. This is a journey. This is a mi'raj in divine knowledge. Who is going to take the mi'raj? To go on to this mi'raj is conscious beings. So does it make sense?
So as we're drawing close to the end of tonight, are there any questions, comments? Is it making sense?
So, Dr. Yamina, one quick question. If Allah Ta'ala is giving all of the malakut the quality of a material existence, right? Animals, plants, earth, universe, sky, his own earth.
I cannot hear well.
Okay. Is it any better now? You can hear me?
I'll try.
Okay, sorry. So let's see. So I was saying that if everything has a material, in our world, in our existence, then the spirit, the ruh, does not have a material quality to it, right? I know that that is not the context or the focus of this particular window, but what I'm trying to understand is that if the shan and the sifa of the spirit, for my understanding, is that the material existence shouldn't make any
influence on reaching this level of understanding, because the cautious is immaterial, the cautious is some other power altogether. You know, to be a cautious being,
Yes.
the material processes should not, they are ayat, they are signs, but for the spirit itself to have a cognizance that my Rabb is Allah, and he has all of these attributes, and he has created the world, and to him is all the return. The spirit's own consciousness is immaterial. It is based on
Yeah.
aql, that
How,
is.
how did we get to material and immaterial? Actually,
Hmm.
in this window, we are
Yeah.
learning to go beyond the material, because even not, because here it says the change. So we are not only looking at things, we are also looking at events. Events are not something necessarily always material. But let's say we'll take the simplest example, something material, a cell or something that we see created, a tree, a mountain, sea, something. We are learning to see how it is not only matter, we are learning to read its non-material, its meaning side. This thing is speaking, this thing is glorifying its maker. So we are learning to see, just like if you look at a piece of paper and there is a note on it. Someone may tell us this is paper and this is ink and these are some scribbles. And it's correct, but we say, yes, it is paper, but these scribbles have meaning. The moment we start reading the meaning, we go beyond the scribbles, beyond the paper, beyond the ink, because the more we understand the meaning, the more the meaning is what we look at. This is what we are learning to do here. We look at something, even if it's material, physical, corporeal, and then we see how it is speaking it, and we want to extract the meaning of what it is saying. Who is, when we learn to interact in this way with the creation, who is interacting? In the beginning, we are not aware, but the more we are aware, because this interaction needs awareness, it is a conscious reading, listening to the glorifications and the praises of and the testimonies of the creation. So the more we consciously learn to decode and to learn to listen and hear and read the signs, the ayat, the more we become aware that what just like we are not only corporeal physical beings, the physical being in us is just like the tip of the iceberg, so too the physical being in the creation of other creatures is also only their corporeality. However, just like we have hearts and emotions and thoughts and spirit, they also have malakut. That's what that malakut is what is speaking to us. That is what we are interacting with. Later, once we become acquainted with the malakut, familiar with the malakut, that's when we will be ready to believe in the angels. The angels are what sustains. They are the side of things, the aspect of things that looks to malakut. They are what brings the divine command.
So would it be safe to say that one of the criteria for spiritual elevation is to understand the intangible and their power and their importance in the design of the universe?
If we once we say intangible this and this, it becomes very vague. We need to read the signs. Now 101, he's showing us step by step how to read the signs. There is a cell. It means the cell is well built, decorated. Well built, there must be an act. There must be an agent. This agent must be a builder, a maker, whatever the functions we see in the cells, they all point to names of the agent, therefore to attributes of the agents, therefore to qualities of the agent, therefore to a source, an essence, a personhood, a source of those qualities. This is how, because intangible can apply to so many things. It does not, it's used for all kinds of things, like even beauty is in a sense intangible. Something is ordered in a way that may look pretty to me and not to someone else. Some colors may look pretty to someone. So we are not talking about that. We're talking about a more systematic way to transcend things, to read them, to see what they are indicating, how they are making their maker, their creator known, how they are testifying to his names and attributes and qualities.
Thanks, Dr. Yamina.
Mhm.
Are there any comments or questions at this time?
I don't know if I'm related to this, but just the word Shan just brought to my attention in the Balkans. Usually, whenever we mention the name of Allah, people would say Jalla Shanuhu. So I was wondering if the Shanuhu is related to the word Shan we're talking here, or it's separate.
It is related.
It is related. Okay, thank you.
So
is it the same word, Nurja? Shan and
yes.
Shan, is it the same word?
Yeah.
I see. Okay. I thought it wasn't.
So for the 19th window, the 19th window is about tasbihat. It starts with ayah 44 of Surah Al-Isra, Surah 17, تسبح له السماوات السبع والأرض ومن فيهن وإن من شيء إلا يسبح بحمده. Everything, the seven heavens and the earth and all what is within them makes tasbih to God, glorifies God. And there is not a single thing, but it glorifies Him with praise. And this tasbihat pertain to the world of Malakut, to the Malakut aspect of the creation. Tasbihat disclose the Malakut aspect of the creation. Once we start reading the mulk, what we see, in the way we learned in window 18, then we start realizing how they are making, everything is making God known with his beautiful names and qualities and praising him. He is the all wise, he's the all knowing, the all merciful, the all. That is the tasbihat. And that's the topic of window 19th window. I have divided the window into 5 different paragraphs, except for the last one, which we can keep for the moment. And if we have 5 pairs who would volunteer, each one of you can read the whole, but we'll focus only on one paragraph, and you can share with us next week. How about that? Instead of having one person, you can work in pairs. It may be easier. So the first paragraph starts from the beginning. The all, sorry?
Yeah, maybe we can share the text with the people so they know
Okay.
the paragraphs. Or is it already divided in the text?
I have divided for myself, but
Okay.
like I can.
This is also a text that was retranslated for the forthcoming book. So we have a bit
Okay.
more accessible translation into English, inshallah. We can put that in a Google document.
I'll send you the, okay, I'll send you the 5 paragraphs and you can share it. And if, please, if you can each like
So
take a paragraph.
So we can write